People of Reddit, what was your biggest oh crap moment? My wife was out of state at a funeral, leaving me with our 1-year-old daughter. I walked out of the kitchen on Sunday morning to find the baby drinking a bottle of infant Tylenol. I have no idea how she got it, or how she got the child-proof cap off. A child-sized dose is only 3 milliliters. Cue me calling poison control with an ER. Nurse on hold, frantically trying to put my shoes on. This is a positive oh crap moment. A few years ago when I was at a pretty severe low with OCD, I had this epiphany that trying to solve the thoughts and feelings never accomplished anything for me. At that moment I clearly realized that if I could just let those things spin freely separate from what I choose to think about and do, then I'd be free. It's taken a lot of work, but those principles have helped me to live the life I want. Finding a painful lump in my bowel sac. Thought I had cancer for sure, but it turned out to be a tiny third testicle that had gotten irritated somehow. I went into the doc expecting to come out less a ball. Instead I have a spare now. When my husband was driving me to the hospital to give birth, it was such a mind frick moment, realizing that it was the last time with just me and my husband, and the next time I would go home I would have a baby with me. When I was accidentally shot in the thigh when I was downrange setting targets up. An archer here. I once shot myself in the hand. I was tilting my bow too far to the left. The arrow slipped off and I let go of the string anyway. Luckily, I was young at the time so I was only trusted with training arrows. Got a cool scar though. Realizing after getting home from my first week at a new job at corporate headquarters that I left my wallet with my new company credit card, license, personal credit card, and $100 cash in the back of the seat on the airplane. I got it back but it took a month. I had to tell my new boss that I already lost the company card, which had around a $30 K limit. Good times. When I thought I had sprained my ankle, then 2 days later it swelled to 3x its normal size and started turning black. I had actually broke my foot in 6 places. I'm a pre-K, 3-year-old teacher. Started panicking because I only counted 7 children following me instead of the usual 8. Thought I was going to jail and everything. I was holding the 8th child in my arms. Mornings are fun. To be honest, it's the school's fault for employing a teacher who's only 3 years old. Coming out of a test and realizing my calculator was in radians. That's a big F. Was driving south on 95 through Virginia. A car was doing over 100 and I followed it but from really far behind. A cop car was hiding in median and the trees. He came flying out and almost sideswiped me. We were face to face for a second. I thought he might pull me over afterwards but he just went after the first guy. But it was so close to us clipping each other at high speed. Driving south on 95 through Virginia. As soon as I read this, I knew exactly what was coming next. It's like the speed limit is a minimum speed, and there's cops hiding in every bush. When I heard my dentist say oh crap while over tightening my dental implant. When I heard the oral surgeon say oh crap with a scalpel in my mouth. Painfully found out afterward they cut a slit in my gums on the opposite side of my mouth. It's more of an oh crap that happened to me. I was having a standard cardiology test where they were trying to get my heart to recreate an event that had previously happened. My heart wasn't cooperating and the doctor told the nurse to put something in my IV to raise my heart rate in hopes of recreating the event. I immediately felt like I had just run at full effort for 10 minutes and my heart was beating so hard and so fast, and I assume out of rhythm, that I began to black out. The nurse and the doctor started yelling something that I honestly can't remember and then a crash cart was brought in and they gave me something else that brought my heart rate down. I have episodes of tachycardia and bradycardia as well as having a sinus arrhythmia and periodic atrial fibrillation. Edit. After googling the crap out of this because I honestly hadn't thought about it until today and forgot what it was called. I believe it was a tilt table test and the drug the nurse put in my IV was isoproterenol and she either gave me too much or I had a bad reaction to it or both. Edit DOS. It sounds like some of you have had fun experiences with this test. I hope you're all doing alright. Good night y'all. That's terrifying. Glad they got it under control. When my blood work came back and my GP stared at it for a long while, then said he would refer me to a hematologist, but then he threw his arm around my shoulder and said, "I'll pray for you." He had never said or done anything remotely like that. Felt like I was in the Twilight Zone. When I texted my wife complaining about what a nasty bee my mother was acting like, only to realize I had texted it to my mother. That sensation of breaking out into a cold sweat because you know what happened and yet it's 2 seconds too late to take it back. Realizing I left food on table when I went traveling. 5 weeks later we come back and it's filled with worms. Sounds like extra protein to me. I had a thyroid nodule biopsy at the end of 2017. They said if the result was benign, they would email me. 6 days later, they called me. Oh crap. Cancer free for 2 years on Saturday though. Yeah, I've learned with doctors if they call, it's serious. If they call as soon as possible after the test is done, it's very, very serious. When the doctor at the urgent care told my mom to quote go straight to the emergency room, you don't need to pay for this visit. The same thing happened to me. I took my son to urgent care because of a lump under his arm. The doctor took one look, said I'm calling the ER right now. Go straight there. You don't owe us anything. Turns out he had stage 4 non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. He's fine now. Last night when the tornado sirens went off in Middle Tennessee, my house just barely missed the flight path. Homes ripped to shreds, people dead and missing, and still no power. I don't think I've ever been so scared holding on to my kids. I'm glad you're okay. The time I was taking a shower and the shower control broke off as I was adjusting the temperature, not just the handle, but the mechanism it controlled. Hot water came gushing out of the wall, and there was no shut-off valve for it. The only way to stop the water was to turn off the main valve for the whole house. OMG, I had this same dang thing happen to me at a house I was dog sitting at, but I actually had the handle hit me. When was driving home at night, I'd had Indian food for lunch and I started to feel a sudden onset of the rumbles really bad. So I pulled over at a McDonald's, tried to get in to use the toilet, and the door was locked. Even though the sign on the door said the dining area was open until 10 and it was 9:55. There was no way to get to another toilet in time. Ah shit my pants. Holding my old butt cat and I slipped in a pee puddle on the stairs. That'll teach you to pee on the floor. Biking down a short but steep hill doing 30 miles per hour to keep up with traffic. Driver about 3 cars ahead of me stops abruptly at a crosswalk. I lay onto my brakes but feel my wheels start to slip. Instantly had that sense of time slowing down to the point where I could make reasoned and considered decisions. Looking ahead, I could run into the car ahead of me, attempt to shoot the gap between the cars and the curb but also risk hitting the pedestrian in the crosswalk. Or I could go down on the grassy verge, decide that the last option looks best for everyone, but then realize that there's a tree in my way. Managed to roll into the fall so that my shoulder and ribcage took the impact. Didn't even hit my head. Ended up a little battered, especially since I jammed my pinky in the ground. But after sitting around to recover my breath I managed to ride home not too much the worse for wear. No broken bones and I only had to take 1 day off of work, though it was a while before my finger wasn't sore and stiff. I'm impressed how well you examined the situation in such a short time and managed to walk away without any broken bones. If it was me, I would have rammed into the car ahead of me. You have testicular cancer. We are removing your left testicle on Monday. Frick cancer. At least they caught it in time. Seeing a ginormous 120V sine wave on the oscilloscope when it was supposed to be 5 volts. Yes, the probe blew up. That's some good design for the scope then. I've seen scopes blow up from accidentally putting mains directly into it. I was in high school and my BF was driving me to work in a snowstorm. It was really slippery out and we were in a tiny car. Looked up, saw a full-sized truck with a trailer behind coming towards us. It made a left turn in front of us. No way we could stop in time. I said oh crap. Fainted, spiderwebbed the windshield with my head. Woke up in the ambulance once and then again in the hospital. Headache for almost a month. That's horrible. Glad you made it out alive. I was riding my bike and I rode into someone else. I fell off my bike and started apologizing to the other guy who was just looking at me in horror. I then looked down at my arm and saw the bone fully sticking out. For some reason I didn't feel until saw it. That's the thing about adrenaline. Sometimes you'll have it kick in and you won't feel anything until you're staring at a bone sticking out of you, which, according to my research, isn't supposed to happen. I was running laps around the football, soccer, field, and looked down for a second. The blur of my moving feet looked kinda cool, and so I stayed looking down watching it for a few bit. In retrospect, not a good idea. As I moved my head to look up, I caught a split-second glimpse of the goalpost before running into it face first. Went to the hospital and had a black eye for a few months. TLDR. Ran into a goalpost. Hearing I am pregnant. What to expect when you're not expecting. I was at work doing what I was supposed to do. I found out later that I had been doing it wrong. A guy did that once. It was a factory job. At the end of the shift they basically had to take everything I put together apart. So embarrassing. Today, I have been having problems with my blood work. My doctor was tap dancing around the obvious. I asked him, oncologist, how fricked am I 1-10? 10 being the worst. He said 8. I asked, do you think I have cancer? He said yes. I am 30. My kids are 10 and 3. I am freaking out. Deep breathe in. Deep breathe out. I had 7 tumors wrapped around my thyroid and spine. You have a long road ahead of you, but please know that there is support for you and your family and you do not have to go through this alone. Sending you love and prayers. When the drugs started to wear off 40 miles into the Nevada desert. We can't stop here. This is bad country. Recently I've been started on Zoloft for anxiety and depression. I started it last week and took my first dose on Friday night. I went to bed the same way I went to sleep every night before that, afraid and feeling like crap. I woke up and every thought I had was gone. My mind was blank. I had no anxiety, no rushing thoughts, no panicked ideas, no worries. I had to force any thoughts into my head. I sat up in my bed and went, oh crap. This is what normal people feel like. It's been a week and I'm not happy. I'm not sad either though. It's pretty neutral, but it's miles better than the heck I was going through. The first couple weeks are not your new normal. Let the dust settle for a few weeks and see how you feel then. Opened my chat with my boyfriend and saw a long butt wall of text. Feeling my thumb snap. No. When the ultrasound tech asked me and my husband, would you start screaming if I told you you were having twins? Oh, crap. I'm a twin and my dad said that he and my mom drove home in silence after they found out that they were having twins lol. When I was on a scooter, making a turn way too fast, I saw the sand on the side of the road and realized my back wheel will slip on it. When the guy about 20 featuring from me got shot in a drive-by and the guy started firing into the crowd, only the one person got hit. It was a gang initiation and the kid was a bad shot thankfully. They found the car and arrested everyone in it and charged MW attempted murder. I'd like to think the shooter was actually an incredible shot and shot between all the people because deep down he was just scared and stuck in the gang. I broke my foot. I was sitting in the exam room waiting for the results of my x-ray. The leading foot surgeon in my town of 3 million people walked up to the door, took a look at the x-ray, and exclaimed, oh crap, I now have a bionic metal foot. It's so strong I'm thinking about having the other one done. Let's hear the story pal. Third year in high school, we went on a bike trip around a lake. Some of us on tandems. I was on a solo bike. We arrive at a very steep part of the road. Everyone happily goes down. Most of fast and halfway through a big girl and a dude on the tandem slide slam into the ground right in front of me. I pull the brake but it's too late. Oh crap, my head is bashed in. Also the girl's dude's hand got fricked up as well. Fun trip. I was stopped at a red light on an icy day. I checked the rear view mirror and the car that was coming up behind me wasn't stopping. I'm sure you can guess what happened next. I always watch my mirror to see if people are slowing down to stop behind me. I hate those people that slam the brakes on when they get super close to you. Always gets my heart going. Sliding down stair railings, slid down 2 stories before face planting into the ground. I've always been tempted to do this, but I'm taking steps to prevent it. I ran with a knife and accidentally stabbed myself in the shin. A knife? No. I was playing volleyball for my university. We were at state and in our third game, a girl on the other team went to spike and I went up to block. She touched the net so the referee blew the whistle. I relaxed mid-air, cause ya know, muscle memory telling me the whistle meant it was our point and I could chill for a second, and came down, lost my footing, rolled and broke my ankle. I had to push myself out of the way so my teammate who also jumped didn't land on me, and then I tried to get up, put pressure on my ankle and immediately fell over and felt the pain. Oh crap moment. A few months ago I bought a brand new laptop for a class. I brought it to school to set things up with a prof since I was a bit behind. I then went to attend my class, and I accidentally left it under the desk on a little shelf attached to the table. I went home, took a nap, and went to head out for grocery shopping and I was like I gotta empty the laptop out of my backpack. When I saw that it wasn't there, I suddenly remembered where I put it. That was my biggest oh crap moment. That laptop was 1.5 days old. When I went to the emergency room because I had a headache and my irises were different sizes, they put me straight in, and I had 3 neurologists and 10 minutes around me. The feeling that I was in serious trouble kicked in about then. I had a torn artery 1.5 inches below my brain. They were just waiting for me to have a stroke basically. I woke up early to get to the university library at the crack of dawn to study for my endocrinology class. I have the same ritual before every exam. Rewrite all my class notes. The exam was at 1:30 p.m. 1 p.m. rolls around and I'm almost done. I look up the exam schedule online to see what room the exam is in, only to see that the exam was at 8 a.m. I wrote down the date and time when the schedule was first posted, but I never checked it after to see if the schedule was rearranged. The exam took place while I was sitting in the library a building away. I panicked, started a cold sweat, as I frantically looked up my professor's number. I had 2 professors, the only ones whose number I could find didn't pick up. So I left a breathless message and leaned back in my chair and tried to breathe. She called me right back and said that it was the other professor that held the test and that he, by some miracle, is still on campus and she gave me his number. I packed up and dialed. He couldn't believe I missed the exam. He thought it was an elaborate cheating attempt. I raced to his office, tears streaming, words unable to form sentences. He was suddenly worried I was in the midst of a panic attack. I was, but left my epiphany at home. He sat me down and grilled me like I was in a police station. Do you know anyone in class? Did they talk about the exam? If I knew anyone in the class, this wouldn't have happened. I cried, horrified and embarrassed. At this point he must have felt bad for me, but he couldn't let me write the exam on another day. He couldn't risk me talking to another student. I would let you write the exam right now, but your mental state, I don't think that's a good idea for you right now. You let me write it now. I was so shocked. It was a 3-hour exam. Surely he had better things to do. I said that any marks are better than a 0 on this exam. He made me take a 15-minute walk around campus before sitting me down in his office and letting me write the exam. He still didn't think it was a good idea, since I was still shaking so badly I could barely hold a pen. While I was writing he looked up my other exam marks and started to look over my shoulder at what I was writing then. I really was so frizzled that most my answers were just a sentence or 2. I didn't want to keep him waiting for me the full 3 hours, so I was trying to be quick. He wouldn't let me turn it in. Told me to write more, that he knew I knew more. It was so stressful to me, since my mind was blank. I couldn't write more. So he started dialogue on the questions and got my brain working enough to write more on the topic. It was the kindest thing a professor did for me to correct my own major frick up. He must have curved my grade because I passed at a higher mark than I was expecting. I still have nightmares about that day though. I graduated almost 2 years ago now, and I never missed an exam, yet still have nightmares that I missed a major exam. I don't know what's wrong with me. Like this video and this good boy will play you a nice song. Like and subscribe, you magnificent person.